Those of us who work in independent media have been calling out the mainstream and corporate media for the last few months for their failure to hold Donald Trump to account. Now, I say the last few months, of course it's the election cycle now, it matters more than ever. They failed for the last 8 years, but that aside, National Public Radio or NPR, your local station, they have finally, after all of the criticism of their coverage, stepped up and have fact-checked Donald Trump's conference that he did at Mar-a-Lago, and they discovered that in 64 minutes, 162 lies. They referred to them as misstatements, exaggerations, and outright lies. Well, I just like to call them lies. They say that's more than 2 in a minute, a stunning number for anyone, and even more problematic for a person running to lead the free world. So what I thought I would do is just paraphrase not all 164 lies, we don't have time, but I want to go through some of the biggest porkies that he told, and using NPR's analysis, I want to explain to you how these lies could have been fact-checked in real time, because that's part of the reason why Trump's speeches, whether it be a press conference at his home or a rally at some arena, this is why it's difficult to fact-check in real time. And this is why you mustn't broadcast these things live, because if you do so, you don't have the facilities or you don't have the budget to have enough fact-checkers working on it. Now, I'm sure that AI can probably do it much quicker than any human, and arguably there is that technology. But you're better off just not running these things live, replaying them, and then giving him a false marker every time he lies, which according to NPR is twice a minute. Let's take a look.
I think that our country is right now in the most dangerous position it's ever been in from an economic standpoint, from a safety standpoint. Both gangs on the street and, frankly, gangs outside of our country in the form of other countries that are, frankly, very powerful.
Firstly, that is terrible English. That's just that's just me adding that thing. Maybe he could have started with from an economic standpoint. The US economy has rebounded from the pandemic downturn more rapidly than most other countries around the world. Growth has slowed in recent months, but GDP still grew at a relatively healthy annual clip of 2.8% in April, May, and June, which is faster than the pace of 3 of the 4 years when Donald Trump was president.
We have a lot of bad things coming up. You could end up in a depression of the 1929 variety, which would be a devastating thing, took many years, took decades to recover from it.
I mean, I have to try and stop criticizing his use of the English language and focus on the lies. There is nothing to suggest that a 1930s-style depression is on the horizon for the United States, and the depression did not take many decades to recover from. It ended during World War II in 1941.
He's going for things that nobody's ever even heard of. Heavy into the transgender world.
I don't really know what the transgender world is. That, again, is Trump not knowing how to speak because he is imploding. And so he just throws words out and hopes that you or his supporters can kind of make sense of it. Maybe there is also a theory that he says stuff so vaguely so you can't hold him to anything because he'll be like, oh, I didn't mean that.
By the way, she was the border czar.
Kamala Harris was never appointed as a border czar. That's a phrase that was used incorrectly by some media outlets. Joe Biden tasked Kamala Harris with leading the diplomatic effort with leaders in Central American countries where many migrants were coming from. And she was successful in that. And so now there are huge shifts, including Mexico paying for an awful lot of the technology and the shift in thinking around migration at the southern border.
You saw the other day with the stock market crashing, that was just the beginning.
Trump then lied again about the stock market. He said we have a very, very sick country right now. You saw the other day with the stock market crashing, that was just the beginning. That was just the beginning. That was just the beginning. Maybe if he says it 3 times, people might think it's true. It's a lie. The stock market did not crash. The stock market did fall sharply at the end of last week as investors fretted about a softening jobs market. This was amplified on Monday when Japan's stock market tumbled 12%. That sparked a sell-off around the world. Stocks in Japan and elsewhere have since regained much of this ground. The Dow Jones Industrial Average jumped 683 points on the day of Trump's news conference. And we should also remind you that a president and especially a vice president do not control the stock market.
So I think the abortion issue has been very much tempered down, and I've answered, I think, very well in the debate, and it seems to be much less of an issue, especially for those where they have the exceptions.
Abortion rights as a political and social issue has certainly not tempered down. There are millions of women, especially across the South, who've lost their access to abortion, and women who have experienced pregnancy losses with the inability to access medications for those necessary procedures. Women are furious, and so are men who support those women too. So Donald Trump, if he thinks that it's all gone quiet on the abortion front, he'll have a nasty surprise in November.
I think that abortion has become much less of an issue. It's a very small, I think it's actually going to be a very small issue.
3 false claims, minutes apart. Abortion rights is not a very small issue for millions of voters. Democrats are organizing around it, and it's been seminal to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's campaigns. How Donald Trump, the architect of the reversal of Roe versus Wade, has the cheek to claim that it has dampened down because he is protected from all of the protest, the anger, and the frustration of tens of millions of women.
The Democrats are really the radical ones on this because they're allowed to do abortion on the 8th and 9th month and even after birth.
I mean, the fact that he can even say these things and think that this is like normal political discourse, normal conversational rhetoric, it's insane. Democrats do not kill babies. Doctors do not kill babies in the 9th month or the 8th month. How anybody can buy this lie with a straight face and be like, oh yeah, I'm not voting for Democrats because they're going to kill babies. Are you serious?
She wants to take away everyone's gun.
Kamala Harris has not proposed taking away all guns. No Democrat has suggested taking away all guns. Most Democrats believe in the Second Amendment. Kamala Harris has proposed banning assault-style weapons, like the AR-15 that someone used to shoot Donald Trump, a ban that was in place for a decade, during which time mass shootings went down. And actually, surveys show a majority support across the country for this ban on these types of weapons.
She's been very, very bad to Israel, and she's been very bad to Jewish people.
Trump then lies again for the 129th time and says she's been very, very bad to Israel and she's been very bad and disrespectful to Jewish people. Again, it doesn't make any sense. Kamala Harris's husband, Doug Emhoff, is Jewish. The couple, they celebrate Jewish festivals. They host Passover and a Seder night. There is absolutely nothing to suggest that she has anything against any Jewish person ever. I think he got this because she didn't choose Josh Shapiro, who is Jewish. So that means that by not choosing Josh Shapiro for political reasons, that means that she hates all Jewish people. He's just so weird.
I never heard anybody campaign on a tax increase.
Well, Vice President Harris has echoed President Biden's pledge not to raise taxes on anyone making less than $400,000 a year. Biden has called for raising taxes on wealthy individuals and raising the corporate tax rate from 21% to 28%, halfway back to where it was before the cut by Donald Trump in 2017.
We have no strategic national reserves now. He's emptied it. It's almost empty. It's never been this low.
He's lying. The strategic oil reserve is actually up. In the past year, Biden has since repurchased about 32 million barrels of oil for the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. And as for this month, the reserve held about 376 million barrels of oil. The reserve was lower when Donald Trump left office than when he got in.
because anybody that can cheat in elections like they cheat is not stupid.
More than 60 court cases proved that there was no widespread fraud or cheating in the 2020 election that would have made any difference in any state. Donald Trump lies about it so that there is confusion, again because he is planning to cheat in the 2024 election, and by sowing doubt, it just gives credence to his planned coup.
But lately I've seen where they're trying to sign these people up to vote, and they have to stop. They cannot let illegal immigrants vote in this upcoming election.
Immigrants such as myself cannot vote in presidential elections. I, as a legal immigrant, can't vote until I get citizenship, and illegal immigrants definitely can't vote. And there is no evidence that there is an intentional effort to sign them up in mass numbers to sway elections. It's a total lie, a conspiracy theory, and one that Donald Trump will keep pushing, and yet we have to keep reminding him and everybody else that there is zero truth to it. So there you go. Just some of my favorite lies from Donald Trump's self-appointed press conference, one of the weirdest press conferences, and he's now claiming that no candidate who can't manage a press conference should be allowed to be president, talking about Kamala Harris. Of course, he can't manage a press conference. That one was a disaster, which suggests to me that he just counted himself out as a candidate for the election, which suits everybody. So there you have it. I hope that was of some use. If you want the full list, please go to the NPR website. I'll put the link in the description below.
A daily press briefing? Why would I do that?
I'm Anthony Davis. You can find me on the 5 Minute News YouTube channel and podcast, on Wednesdays co-hosting Uncovered, and on Sunday on The Weekend Show with MeidasTouch.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.